This is Dee Calhoun, aka Screaming Mad D, the voice of Spiral Grave and solo artist on Argonauta Records. You, my friend, are listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast.
Hello.
Some things never change, right?
No, they don't, and they never will.
Dude, I feel like we're back where we started again. You're here.
We got it.
I'm good to go, brother.
Hey, good to see you, D. You got video or no?
When I checked it, it was good. Start video. There we go.
There we go.
Good to see you, my friend. That's my partner, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you, man?
Good.
Thanks
Good.
For Monday.
Yeah, for a Monday. You're right. Thanks
For
for
a
taking the
Monday?
time. I know you're busy.
That's a tall ass ceiling you got there, man.
That's the angle. It's that old Ronnie Dio angle you shoot from below, you know.
Yeah, I can't do that. Otherwise, it's all chin, you know.
Right. Well, that's what this was for.
And if you shoot from the top, you'll be blinded by his head, so it'll all.
Oh, dude, don't even talk to me about my bald
Well,
head,
that's
okay?
you know, under here I got rid of all of it. So this is actually everything's by design. So this is actually a glare screen. Looking
Maybe you
at
should recommend one for Chris.
I need something because here,
you know.
put your glasses on. All right, there we go.
Otherwise, otherwise you're going to see this, you know,
Yeah.
for half an hour.
Last time I was part of a video shoot, they used my head as the white balance.
Oh,
Nice. So anyway, D, thank you for joining us. I know we've done a lot of stuff together through the past with Iron Man and a bunch of my video stuff. And
yeah.
so give us the 2-sentence boardroom elevator pitch for the newer stuff, Dee Calhoun.
Swampy, heavy, acoustic, Americana doom.
Wow. You were prepared for that one. That's pretty good. And that encompasses everything.
I'm never prepared.
I was actually just listening to Old Scratch Comes to Appalachia. Or is that how I say that? I'm Canadian.
Well, you know, I usually, anytime I use the word in conversation, I say Appalachia. I was actually born and raised in Appalachia, but for purposes of this album, I say Appalachia because, and this is just my perception, Appalachia sounds more backwoodsy to me.
Okay,
And
cool.
it really isn't, you know, it's like data and data, you know, it's this two versions of the same word, but that's just been my perception of it. So.
Salsa.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But either way is acceptable.
Cool. So you say you come from that area. So like when I was checking out the song and the video and reading the story about it, it kind of seems like a dark place.
Well, I could write about anywhere and make it sound like a dark place. That's just
Fair enough.
where I come from creatively. It could definitely be argued that Appalachia is a dark place. You know, with the witches and the backwoods and the old ways, you know, as it were. So it's definitely a good place to go creatively for those kinds of themes and whatnot.
Yeah, we did an interview with a band from there. I can't remember how many years ago, but he answered the Zoom call and he was holding the gun and he was just shooting it.
Jesus.
That's the old ways. Well, actually, the old ways, you know, would involve a dead chicken and
Dude,
blood
what's
on the
the name of
floor.
that band? He was drinking beer and it was like 9:00 in the morning and he had an AK or something in his hand.
Yeah, he was ready to he was just like, I'm shooting gophers and watching for meth heads. All right.
I forgot about that.
That's great.
Jesus.
I didn't mean to take it down that road. I was just, So what was so you're inspired to write this story and convert it, like it looks here like you're writing a book and the album is kind of part of it.
Yeah.
How does that kind of happen for you?
Well, there was a precedent for it. On my second album, Go to the Devil, I wrote a song called Jesus, the Devil, the Deed. And when I finished the song, I thought to myself, there's more to this story. I want to know what the rest, not the rest of the story, but I want to know more about the guts of the story. So I wrote a novella. That was my second published book, the novella version of the narrative of that song. When I wrote Old Scratch Comes to Appalachia, the song, I told my son about it, and he says, "Is this going to be another book?" And I said, "No." I said, "The narrative's not long enough." And at that point, I had just published a novel, and I wanted to do another novel. And he said, "Well, you should write it as a book and then release them the same day." And I'm like, "Fuck, why didn't I think of that?"
Right.
And that's where it went. I didn't want to just release a single 90-page book novelette, so I decided to flesh it out, and I wrote 3 other stories to accompany it, sort of the same theme. Devil goes to the backwoods and wreaks various kinds of hell on the townsfolk in different places in different ways, and that's sort of where the book came from. But yeah, the song and the story are connected. They're basically the same story.
But the song was first.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
That's very cool. And your son's like, "Hey, you should do a book." And you're like, "Damn it."
I was very disappointed in myself that I didn't think of that idea. And I told him that, for his great suggestion, he was going to make just as much money as I'm going to make from it. So,
Right.
So here's a question. Since you're a writer, both musician and obviously written word, how do you feel about the advancements of machine learning? And are you using it to help your creative process? Are you worried about how it's going to affect your creative process? What do you think about all of it?
It's neither here nor there for me where creativity is concerned. I am leery about it and would never employ it. I don't see how you could be proud of that as a writer and a musician, to have something else generate your content for you. I think it is something, that's on the horizon. Well,
It's
here.
here. Yeah.
To be wary of. And it all comes around to the consuming public. They're the ones that are eventually going to dictate whether it's used or not. Are they going to consume it? Are they going to care?
Or are they going to know?
Well, and that's true too.
They already are consuming it and they don't know.
Right. I enjoy some of the novelty that it creates, when you can download or listen to a version of Plankton from SpongeBob singing War Pigs. And if it could stop right there,
Right.
then I would say, "Oh yeah, this is great." But it's not going to stop there, and it's all the way up to the degree where the Beatles are going to employ it to release an unreleased song that John wrote.
Yeah.
That they're going to AI generate John's vocals.
Crazy.
So it is a frightening slope that we're looking down, and not just for the reasons of, we all saw T2 Judgment Day.
Right.
And I don't want to be that dramatic about it, but yeah, from the creative standpoint, it is kind of distressing.
I think it's distressing. I think it's distressing for every single industry, unless you're like a plumber or an electrician,
Right.
or in the trades, right?
Right.
Because like as like think about coders right now, right? That's like one of the highest paying jobs there is. Like if you go to Loudoun County, Virginia, the richest county in the United States, the only reason it's there is because of coders, right? It's all
Right.
IT people and coding. What happens when the computer just does that for you? Because it already can,
Right.
not perfectly, but it can get pretty close. Banks, lawyers, judges, accountants, all those white collar jobs are at total risk.
And people don't see that. All people see is how it impacts the arts. And you've got a huge degree of people that are like, oh, who cares about that?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, they don't stop to consider how far reaching it'll be. And
this is why I think the SAG after strike that's going on right now might be one of the most important strikes in history.
Yes.
Right.
Because they're actually going to be on the front lines. They're the ones deciding what's going to be allowed in their industry with machine learning and artificial intelligence. And that's going to be used as a basis for every single thing that comes over the next few years.
Right.
Because it's not going to happen tomorrow, but by next year we're going to start to see huge impacts. And the year after, and the year after, it's just going to get more and more.
Greetings from Evergreen Podcasts. We're rolling out a listener survey, and we want to hear from you. The information in the survey will help us gather statistics and in turn make our shows more appealing to advertisers. I know most people don't like ads, but this is one of the only ways our shows make money and help keep their lights on. We promise it will only take a few minutes, but the impact on our podcasts will be tremendous. As a token of our appreciation, we'll randomly select one lucky participant each month to win an exclusive merchandise package from Evergreen Podcasts. Head to evergreenpodcast.com/listenersurvey to help a show and possibly get some free stuff for doing so. We can't thank you enough for the support. Now back to the show.
And I see so many people who are downplaying this strike and even denouncing it or ridiculing it because all they look at are the rich celebrities involved.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the crew people. They're not looking
writers.
at the grips, the writer, everyone who's impacted, who are living paycheck to paycheck and gig to gig based on this.
Yeah.
And, they just, so many people refuse to look at the bigger picture and the bigger impact of it. And, I fear they're not going to until it's too late.
Well, what about the curiosity factor? like you have to be curious about how it would impact your work, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, how many people can avoid that curiosity factor?
Right. I mean, it's like the onset of automation,
Yeah.
100 years ago, 150 years ago, whatever. And I wonder how many people see it as a fad that's not going to catch on, but
It's too late.
exactly.
Yeah. My curiosity factor got me with it. And I wrote code that I had no business writing because I don't code. And I wrote a program that took weeks of work that used to take me weeks. I now do in a minute and a half.
Right. Well,
and I'm like, holy shit.
I have a children's book written that I've had sitting, finished copy-wise for about 4 years now. And I know I could go out and employ AI to illustrate it and be done with it, but I'm not going to do that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to jump in real quick and we can probably get back to Dee in a second, but I'm taking a course this summer, as Chris knows, on AI imaging in, the college I work for. And I'm blown away. Chris and I have conversations via email like 100 times a day going, holy shit, the stuff you can do.
Right.
But let me ask you a question: if you're creating art, or if you're creating based off your text, is that still art? Chris?
That's something that's going to be debated. If it's the artist creating it, how is it considered?
Because you still have to get those prompts right. What'd you call it, Chris? It's a
prompt engineering.
Yeah, so I mean, you still have to get those prompts right. So I mean, there's work in it.
Right. That's the kind of thing that people will use to justify it if they really employ it. Whereas for me, this particular project is something I visited and then I'd come back and poke around for an illustrator for a little bit and then get involved in something else. But this is definitely something that when it gets done and gets finished, it's going to be someone sitting down either doing digital art
Right.
or drawing it and scanning it,
right.
that's going to end up in it. And for all I know, the person that I employ to do it might use AI on their end.
Right. That's the other thing you don't even know, right?
Right. I don't see myself consciously employing AI to do that sort of thing. And certainly where my music is concerned, I've always been very do it yourself. I record all of my music at home.
Nice.
The only outsourcing I do is I do take it and get it mastered. But
so you record and mix at home?
Yeah. It's all done right in my bedroom. Nice. And that's where I do a lot of my writing too. And that's just the way I prefer to do it. I do this for my own amusement as much as I do for anything else. And part of the accomplishment is listening to something like Old Scratch Comes to Appalachia and thinking, wow, I was sitting in my chair in my bedroom and that's where this was produced. Right. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's the one thing that I love about digital audio is it's really empowered the creatives to have access to something that they didn't have access to before unless they had financial backing.
Right.
Like I remember when I was trying to record a record back when I was in my 20s, studio time was like $1,300 to $1,500 a day in the 90s.
Right.
I couldn't afford that.
No, I've told many people that if my solo music required me booking studio time to produce it, there wouldn't be any solo music. I'm able to do it because I can do it myself.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's also a different way of looking at machine learning. Like maybe it's going to empower people, excuse me, to have access to things that they didn't have access to before.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's such a complex subject to me.
Yeah. It depends so much on point of view, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg regarding.
Well, I applaud you for staying away from it and doing it, artistically.
Especially when you could get it done quicker, like Chris said, by just logging on and doing it. So putting the time in and the grit and the sweat is pretty cool, and I think it shows. That's
a great deal of the fun part. I mean, when you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to start working on an album. You want the finished product. That's your end game is to have that finished product. But part of the joy is the creation and hearing it come together and building soundscapes and just hearing the parts fit together and just that adrenaline rush when you nail that vocal part, and I nail the vocal part and the neighbors aren't beating on my wall.
Right. There's that.
Yeah, that's part of the joy of it.
So here's kind of an odd question. Since you both write books and write music, do you kind of have not two personalities per se, but do you approach creativity differently with one form or the other?
Not really. They're kind of just two heads of the same beast. As far as the joy that comes from it, when I wrote my novel, that's when I realized, hey, I get as much joy out of writing stories and books as I do out of writing music. And that's the big driving force with me creatively is it fun? Is this something that if I came across from someone else, would I go out and pick it up? And that's kind of what I go for. Writing books won't ever replace music because music has the live performance factor behind it. You can go out and read a book, have a live reading or whatnot, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. But No, it's kind of just coming up with an idea and going with it and seeing it coming together, and just the excitement that comes from the creative process.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing for me, just the fun.
It is exciting, isn't it?
Oh, I tell people, since I do all of my own production and all of my own art layouts, when I get a physical copy of an album, there isn't that joy that there used to be, because I've already listened to it thousands of times while I was producing it. I've already looked at the artwork dozens of times while I was creating it. But when I get a copy of a book, I've only looked at that on a computer screen while I was working on it. When I get that hard copy of a book and can just flip through the pages, that's overwhelming joy to sit there, as someone who started reading Poe in grade school and being around books my entire life. Just there's still that sense of, oh wow, that came out of here,
right?
And that by itself is worth the effort. Anything beyond that, people picking it up, people reaching out with good words about it, that's just the icing on the cake. But just the sense of accomplishment, that's what I tell anyone who's creative. If you want to draw the picture, draw it. Don't worry about what other people think about it. If you feel accomplished by it and get joy out of it,
it doesn't matter
you've already won.
I see you stay, I keep up with you and we talk quite a bit as well. I see you stay pretty busy live.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of stuff coming up, right?
It's starting to fill in. It seems like, I look at my calendar and think, no, it's kind of lean for the next month and a half. And then all of a sudden things start to fill in. But between playing solo and playing with Spiral Grave, and I've kind of picked up a third gig. A year ago, a little over a year ago, I started recording with a singer-songwriter here in town, April Sandy, who I met at an open mic. And I've started, whenever possible, playing live with her.
Nice.
So, that's going on too. So,
he's from your neck of the woods, Chris, or your old neck of the woods, the DC area.
Yeah, I live in Frederick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in Sterling for a long time.
Okay.
5.5 years, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult keeping up with all those projects and not knowing who you're writing for or what you're doing?
Well, it's very cut and dried. When April books shows, I tell her I'll keep the solo schedule clear, but if the band gets offered a gig that day, I got to take the band gig because there are other folks involved. So
right.
there's a structured priority. Now April and I will do a lot of shows together that I'm on the bill solo as well. So I'll be doing double duty,
Nice.
Playing her set and then playing my set later. So there always is a sort of a pecking order, so there aren't overlaps or conflicts or, sorry guys, I can't take the band gig, I'm doing this. So that helps out a lot. There's a good understanding with it. So
okay.
So besides 3 musical projects, a novel, a new album, children's book, do you sleep?
I have people all the time that say, don't you ever relax? And my answer is, well, this is how I relax. If I spend an evening working on music, I will go to bed that night just feeling like, wow, this was a really productive evening. Even if it's just coming up with a riff and noodling it and just throwing it down on the phone, for reference later, there's still this feeling of, okay, tonight was productive. I got something done for later on. So that's that's what I do to relax. Right now I'm at I don't want to see a creative lull, but right now I'm not working on anything, but I am prepping, later this year. I'm going to start on another novel. Probably around the holiday time. I'm between now and then just collect notes and organization and that sort of thing, and then dive into that.
So novel first, and then possibly a soundtrack second.
Well, my follow up to Old Scratch is already recorded.
Jesus.
Last fall, the creative bug hit hard, and I started writing and recording, and before I knew it, there were 10 new songs, and they were good enough. I'm happy enough with them that I'm like, oh, do I want to release this one instead? But just the cross marketing with Old Scratch was just, to me, such a cool idea.
Right.
That I just hung in with that and just tucked the other one away. So
So where can people go get the record? Where can people get the books? Give us your plug.
The books are the easiest to find online. Amazon carries everything. I publish through Kindle Direct, which is partnered with Amazon. So Amazon carries everything. Most are available in Kindle as well as hard copy. Music you can order straight from Argonauta Records. And everything is on the internet, all the standard digital sites, Spotify, iTunes.
All Dee Calhoun?
Yeah. Now, something worth noting about the new album, it is a 2-disc set. CD1 is the album. CD2 is the Old Scratch Comes to Appalachia novelette in audiobook form.
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
The only digital outlet that carries both CDs is Bandcamp. On Bandcamp, you can download both the album, 10 songs, and the audiobook.
Nice.
And that was tedious work right there.
Audiobook editing is painful.
And that was the hard part. Each chapter is 10 to 12 minutes long, so it would take 15 minutes to record. The editing would take an hour and a half.
Right.
Just going through, getting rid of all the mumbled words, cleaning out the background sound, everything. That was
All the mouse clicks.
Yes. But worth it in the end.
That's nice. I love the whole true DIY spirit, though. You got it going on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's just, it's more fun to me that way, especially with this stuff. And when I wrote my first novel, I was intimidated to write a novel, something that long form. And I wanted to take a creative writing class, mainly to learn organization, things like that.
Right.
And then COVID happened, and finally I'm like, you know what? Everything else that I do with a wing and a prayer by the seat of my pants. Why should this be any different? So I just wrote outlines and got everything organized and just had at it. So
good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. That's just, it's more fun for me to do it that way.
That's all my questions, Chris.
I don't have anything either. I think this was a great interview, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And while I have you, Dee, I appreciate all you do, man. All the silly shit you do with me. From cooking here with Iron Man, I don't even know when that was, like 10 years ago, maybe?
That was 2014.
Wow. Oh, I was close. So almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They showed up here, Chris. He was in a band called Iron Man. They were on Metal Blade. They showed up to cook. I don't even remember what we made back.
We made beef stir fry.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun. You got a better. I just remember Al hanging out and then over the years, Dee actually narrated a couple of my movies. I think Metal Missionaries, probably.
Metal Missionaries, Appalachian Black Metal.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Nice.
I love doing that sort of thing. When you reached out to me for Metal Missionaries, and I recorded the test for you,
Right.
and I listened to that, and I thought, ugh, that sounds horrible. And when you came back at me and it was like, "Oh, this is perfect," I was floored.
Yeah. You even did a narrative on one of those audio dramas for
Yes.
me.
Yes. Yeah. I love doing that sort of thing. Anything that can allow me to be creative and have fun with it. And it always looks good on the resume,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to downsell that part of it.
Thank you, my friend. Dee, it's always good to see you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Cheers, man.
Hey,
You
be well,
too.
and we'll talk to you
Take care,
soon.
fellas.
Right out. Later.
Yes.
Hello out there. Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.